Hey everyone, Ethan here, and in this video we're going to be talking about both the practical and the theoretical sides of AI, both how AI is changing the cultural landscape that we're all participating in, and the specific opportunities and skills that you'll need to learn in order to capitalize on this cultural shift. We'll be diving into how business has changed from wage slavery to being a freelancer to being an AI augmented business owner, how AI can create virtuous feedback loops in terms of letting you do more of what you actually want to do and less of the admin type of stuff, and the different shifts, as well as how agents are replacing employees and how you can position yourself to actually learn and implement these agents and capitalize on this opportunity. So let's dive right into it. So essentially, the core of this video today is going to be about how more one-person businesses will emerge in the future, how they're already becoming more practical, and how we're really on the cusp of the ability for a singular person to just hire AI agents as employees, and being able to scale to the point where more and more people will have livable incomes using AI agents as employees rather than trying to manage the operational complexity of having a bunch of employees. So the first thing that I want to talk about here is that the unique opportunity is that with AI agents, you'll essentially be able to transition your work to a place where you are the primary owner of that work. You are building out the processes and SOPs and products, and at the core of it, the AI is helping you build out those processes. It's helping you fulfill on whatever value you're adding, and it's also helping you focus on more of the creativity side of things. As many of you guys know, the marketplace is moving towards more of a brand-focused and media-focused companies, right? Anyone can do the delivery of this work, but how you position yourself, how you're able to communicate the value that you offer, and how you're able to creatively connect different ideas, technological, so like software platforms essentially, and how you're able to create new solutions for the market. This is what's going to be what's most valuable. And so the essence of this is that admin shit will be outsourced, and you will have more capacity to focus on a business that you actually want to focus on. Now, there's a lot of different patterns that I see emerging in the space these days. There's a lot of people focus solely on money and how to scale businesses as fast as possible to become as rich as possible. And for many, that is the motivation that they're after. That's what they're trying to do, is make as much money in as short amount of time as possible. What I'm promoting here is a slightly different alternative. It's not that we can never fully forget about money, but we can have a more balanced and nuanced perspective that allows us to see the ways in which we can create a sustainable income for our lives as a one-person business without burning out, without feeling like there's just this constant sense of urgency with all of these AI tools to learn. And my perspective is that you don't need to learn all of the AI tools. It's not actually help you that much. Just go and find all of the different software platforms, SaaS products that people are building, and to just try them all out. At its core, there are just a few skills that you actually need to learn, and if you learn those skills, you will be set. So we kind of see this pyramid happening here. You can see essentially where we're going from. For the longest time, we've been in this wage slavery sort of business, and the only way to make money was either have a 9 to 5 or scale a business with tons of employees and basically spend 60 hours a week trying to manage the operations of that. Then we kind of got into this revolution more recently where everyone's becoming freelancers. People are starting to see that the one-person business is valuable, that you can just get clients, work for yourself, deliver services, and make money without being tied to one specific employer. And now what we're seeing is that more and more people are becoming AI augmented business owners. I think that we still haven't really seen the full brunt of this shift in the culture. As I said, the majority of businesses right now are extremely operationally complex. That when you're in these businesses, you don't have the luxury to focus on making meaning and helping people as you scale. And so a lot of these businesses, there's a lot of trade-offs that are happening while you're building the freelancer or just the main business, like the traditional online service business, is that you're focused so much on increasing headcount and scaling as fast as possible that you don't realize you're actually making a trade-off and you're sacrificing um, like creating genuine value for humanity, or you at least delude yourself into thinking that you're doing good without looking at the facts and realizing the ways in which you're actually causing systemic harm. So I'm not going to deep dive into the philosophical and ethical aspects of this, but what we'll start seeing is that as AI is able to augment more of the operations and processes in the day-to-day of a business, this actually frees us up more, and what you do with that time that is freed up will change from person to person. A lot of people will have more time and then they'll just become more invested in making more money as fast as possible. And other people have more time. They'll be able to make a sustainable income and they'll choose to invest that in something meaningful. They'll want to try to make sense of things in a way that takes into account more and more perspectives. And I'll go into this in a second, but as you can see, there's psychological developmental models such as spiral dynamics. If you've ever seen spiral dynamics, there's Robert Keegan's model. There's all these different psychological models that essentially say, similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as you integrate perspectives, you go from this like kind of authoritarian, very kind of like follow orders type of mentality to then the vast majority of our culture is in this stage orange, achievement, strategic. This is kind of like the make money, personal development and self-help at all costs. And then you kind of start seeing this cultural shift where you have these kind of like liberal, communitarian values where you're focused on the collective. This one's focused on just me. How can I become the best version of myself and grow and all this stuff? And it doesn't see that it's blind to the whole of humanity. And then this one's very focused on humanity, but it's also blind to the ways in which it, a lot of times, as we're seeing in our culture, it's not actually fully integrating the positive aspects of this achievement-oriented stage. And so I think what we'll see is as people are building businesses in these stages of development, as AI agents give them more time, they'll have more capacity to actually become to grow and transcend and include these values into this more yellow integrated stage where they're both serving the collective while also not demonizing making money and achievement and strategy and so on and so forth. So I'll talk about that more on my channel in the future. But for now, what you need to know is that the more that AI is able to augment the business, the less admin shit that you need to do on a day-to-day basis, and the more creative fulfillment that you'll have, because you'll have more time, energy, and attention to focus on the media side of the business. And ideally, the more people that are creating media type businesses, the more people are aligning what they're genuinely interested and curious about with the business models that they're creating. And I don't love the word consciousness these days. I think it's becoming very much overused. But you can say that people will become more aware of the various systems that they're contributing to. And like this, it's not hippie shit. It's developmental psychology. When we don't need to do the grunt admin work, we our focus moves towards our mission and our widening circles of care. So essentially there's different stages that we've seen that I've kind of already talked about, but the traditional business model is you're focused purely on survival and profit. You have this hierarchical focus for having as much command and control as possible, and you're creating these zero-sum businesses where you have this mindset that if other people win, I lose, so I have to win so other people lose. This is actually what I believe the kind of developmental stage that I believe OpenAI is operating under. You kind of see this zero-sum mentality. If you listen to Sam Altman, he often talks about the only reason that he released ChatGPT was because if he didn't, then someone else was going to, and he was going to lose. So there's this kind of zero-sum mentality. which is why I really don't use ChatGPT or OpenAI for the majority of the work that I do. I believe that Claude is a lot better. They obviously have their flaws, and they're not perfect either, but they're at least a step in the right direction. Now we see the middle stage is where the primary focus is just me. How do I use AI for efficiency, scalability, to optimize the business, to achieve as much as possible, to have as much individual success and growth as possible? And there's nothing wrong with this, right? So what I talked about before is you want to be able to scale your business. You want to be able to grow and have, as we will see, these types of values. But a lot of people get stuck in this trap where they start growing and then they start focusing only on value-driven, ethical businesses. They completely forget that there's something extremely effective about these types of business models, specifically this middle stage business model, that if you just toss it into the wind, you won't actually be the most effective at creating these emerging types of business models. And so we'll get into this more, but basically what you need to know is that if you're focused only on optimization and achievement, individual success and growth, you're essentially falling into various self-deceptive traps where you're completely blind to the ways that your actions are actually going directly against the values of care. But if you focus only on the values of care without the values of effectiveness, that's also a problem. So the next one is value-driven and purpose-oriented. You're trying to build AI systems that not only scale value creation, but also keep into account human values and ethics, and you try to align the systems, the profit and revenue generating systems that you built. You find a way to bridge that gap between ethics and value-driven systems, where you say, okay, how do I build a value-driven, revenue-generating system that doesn't sacrifice ethics in the process? And a lot of times that means you might not achieve as much revenue as you otherwise would have, but you can sleep better at night, and you know that you're focused on doing good in the world. So the last one is kind of what I talked about. So there's the trap in being in this stage. There's a trap of being too deeply in this stage, and obviously zero sum is not good. And then the emerging stage is that you're integrating profit and purpose. Your AI is essentially allowing you to build systems that keep into account systemic awareness and responsibility, but also includes the values of being effective in building revenue generating systems. So as we kind of see this cultural shift, the biggest shift that's happening that we have yet to fully see, it's just barely emerging, is AI agents. So AI agents, if you don't know what they are, it's essentially an AI employee. So the difference between AI automations or just regular AI models is that rather than just going to ChatGPT or Claude and typing in like, write me a paper for this, AI agents, you're able to give it tasks to do, and then it will go out on your computer or on a virtual machine, and it will actually go out and take those tasks and click buttons. And so this might not sound too revolutionary, but the essence of it is like, imagine you could tell an AI to anything that you would hire someone to do. If you define the job responsibilities enough, you can essentially then delegate that to an agent. And then the game that we'd be playing is how effectively can you prompt these agents with the specific job responsibilities and tasks, and how granular can you, if you say like you have in, I talked on this channel a little bit about the SDR, sales development representative. There's specific buttons that an SDR has to click. There's specific ways that an SDR, there's only so many different tasks that an SDR is going to take in a given day. And the task is going to be, how do you document each one of those micro tasks and also larger responsibilities that an SDR is going to take? And then how do you prompt an agent to be able to take those tasks for you and to learn and get better and give it feedback? And so, got a piece of hair in my eye. So essentially the phase shift here is that as you do that, It's kind of what I was talking about where you're outsourcing admin work. We can describe admin work both as running a business, but also like I'm using admin work in the most broad sense of the word possible, right? Admin work is essentially anything that is, I guess this would not be the formal definition of admin work, but what I'm trying to say is that as agents get better, you have to deal with less and less complexity in your business on a day-to-day basis. Corporate bullshit and bureaucracy starts to go away, and the traditional barriers that are currently in place for entrepreneurship will be lessened. And so an agent is different from an employee in that it never sleeps. You scale without adding complexity. It's way cheaper because you maybe pay $100 a month in API credits to run an agent, whereas an employee is going to cost you $6,000 a month for an entry level position. And so, like I talked about, the only constraint is how clearly can you articulate the task and strategy, and how clearly can you align that AI with the vision that you're trying to build. And so this is the exact opposite of an employee, where it's extremely hard to scale, it's extremely high cost, you have payroll to deal with, you have a lot of operational complexity. And so you essentially, at this point, you have two aspects of your business. You have client acquisition, client fulfillment. So this can either be like media into a scalable product, or it can be outbound systems and media into a service-based business. So you'll see below there's we're seeing the rise of community-oriented businesses. A lot of businesses are trying to add. This is essentially what Seth Godin talks about in his book Tribes. He talks about how essentially, in order to build a tribe or a movement or a mission, the people that are buying from you need to have some way to communicate with each other and to communicate with you. And the infrastructure is being put in place for people to more easily communicate with each other through tools like School or Circle or some of these community platforms. And the more that people are able to communicate with each other, the more cohesive people can align around the values that you're trying to put out in the world. So my goal really with this channel is to educate on the practical sides of building agents and one-person businesses, as well as the more theoretical side of how do you actually align these agent and systems of agents towards purposes and human-oriented values that will benefit both your life and the collective lives. Because essentially, we live in this world where there's just so much myopic focus. Everyone's just like, I believe because of survival, there's this sense that we're always in threat of survival. Like, if I don't make enough money this month, I'm not going to pay rent, and all this stuff, which is a very real thing. And to say that you just need to focus on purpose and mission and forget about survival, that's just horseshit. But I think what we're going to start seeing is that AI is going to make it easier to handle the survival aspects, because you can essentially do work once. A lot of people talk about this with the advent of courses, right? You just build a course, then you funnel an audience into it, then you don't have to worry about it. It's kind of a dream. But now we're going to start seeing similar aspects in the AI world, where you build specific agents and then you kind of like take your foot off the pedal, and the AI agents are just running these processes that you built. If something breaks, they're fixed. It's like getting fixed. It's more of what Nassim Taleb calls like an anti-fragile system. The more that the agents work, the more that they learn, the more feedback you give them, the better they get. And they're able to interact with the market in a way that doesn't require your operational oversight, which essentially gives you more time to be in your zone of genius. So there's never been a better time to start this business model. A lot of people, like in the space of building AI related services, they fear this sense of oversaturation, if there's going to be a market to sell to, if too many people are trying to get into the AI space, and I can tell you that it's not oversaturated. Even if everyone and their mom is trying to sell VAPI voice agents and all of these different AI systems, there is a hype cycle. There's absolutely a hype cycle around a lot of these specific like voice agents and all these like specific AI services. But as AI gets better, there will only be more and more different solutions that you can both integrate into your business and sell. And so I think what's really going to differentiate people is how clearly are you able to articulate why someone would want to integrate one of these things. Because if you are really good at building agents, but you don't understand exactly the pain points that you're solving by building those agents, or you're not actually speaking to the right audience, then good luck. And so essentially what I at least hope in, what I believe we will start seeing, and what would be my dream, is that we see that there's new models of value creation that are free from traditional corporate structures and that are very oriented towards people discerning what it is that they want to pursue mastery in, right? There's this sort of like follow your passion, which ends up being like just on a whim, change what you're doing every single week because it gets boring. And that's never going to work. But we're going to see the rise of people that are trying to pursue mastery in certain fields and that are able to achieve a lot higher levels of success with that because they're able to integrate agents to do all of the stuff in support of those missions that otherwise would have taken up 40 hours of their week. So John Vervaeke calls this the meaning crisis. We're in this meaning crisis, right? Now that we are all, there's so many different ways to create value in the market, we're all starting to see that to work at a desk job in a cubicle for a large company is completely meaningless. And so we're facing this meaning crisis where we're feeling like we're caught in between not being able to survive and wanting to find meaning, where it's like, if I want to focus on survival, then I feel like my life is meaningless, and if I focus on meaning, then I can't survive. So we're in this double bind, and what we're going to start seeing is that AI agents are actually going to, I hope, increase the level of participation, agency, and like a sense of ability to contribute in ways that are more true to one's own individual predispositions and capacities in a way that it was not possible before. And so I think the core question here is, as AI agents make it more possible to build leverage for yourself, to build leverage for your mission, then the entire question becomes, what do you want to build and for whom? Right? So a lot of people just say, I just want to build whatever I can build for anyone that will pay me. I think this is where we start getting into the toxic sides of what I was talking about, the traditional zero-sum business models, where I just want to focus on me, I want to grow. But what you don't realize is that if you're contributing harm to the world, that's always going to come back. Like, we live in these interconnected systems. And so if I am focusing on myself at the expense of everyone else, then eventually me focusing on myself at the expense of everyone else will come back to bite me in the ass. And so the real question is, what type of world do I want to contribute to with AI? What types of systems do I want to build and for whom? And if you do this, I guarantee you will feel much more meaning than if you just went and tried to build a bunch of voice agents or whatever the hype cycle is. And so at the end of the day, AI enables us to build more effective systems with more leverage. And the question is, like, what causes do you want to support? You can only support so many different causes and missions. Maybe you want to focus on increasing the scale and reach of various nonprofit missions. Maybe you want to I don't know, there's a million different ways that you can frame what it is that you want to contribute to in the world. And the task ahead of us is how clearly can we clarify what we want, what systems and missions we want to support, and how clearly can we see what the work is ahead of us in terms of enlisting AI agents to support us towards that mission. So we're going to start seeing that the quality of your thinking and the ability to understand why you're making the decisions that you're making is going to become more and more valuable, because if you just are able to change what you're doing in your business on a monthly basis based on what's hot, there's no aliveness there, there's no mission there, and you're going to feel like a chicken with your head cut off. Whereas if you're able to see that there are specific decisions that need to be made for specific reasons, that will essentially enable you to be more confident in your decisions, to have more consistency and persistence in doing the things that you're doing. So I hope you found this valuable. If you're interested in learning more about this, you can join my free community. It's called AI Systems Mastery, soon to be called something else. And I'm still building out the courses, so there's a lot of courses coming soon. You'll see some of the templates in here, but most of all, there's a community of other people, and we'll be talking about one-person businesses. We will be talking about different ways of shaping our work for the future of business. We'll be talking about the specific systems that you can build in your business right now. So go join that for free. In the coming months, you'll be seeing more and more different, essentially, I'll be packaging a lot of what you heard in today's video into more systematized and sequential courses and trainings, so that I can take you from point A to point B, from meaningless corporate work where you're just doing a bunch of tasks and you're just clicking buttons all day, to essentially enlisting AI agents to support the mission that you want to support in the world, and starting to see very real, practical results and value, and to start tightening that feedback loop where you create these agents, you do things in the world, and you see immediate feedback from the world, and you hold ethics and virtues as the core of what you're doing. And so you can find that in the description of this video. If you like this, you can also hire me to build AI agents for your business. And you can see some of the different tech stack that I use below. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have a good day.